Good morning, Pastor Brian here. Thanks for joining me today as we read a chapter a day through the book of Psalms. Today we'll be reading Psalm 74. I'll be reading from the Common English Bible as I do each time we gather together. And let's hop in to the psalm. God, why have you abandoned us forever? Why does your anger smolder at the sheep of your own pasture? Remember your congregation that you took as your own long ago, that you redeemed to be the tribe of your own possession. Remember Mount Zion, where you dwell. March to the unending ruins, to all the enemy destroyed in the sanctuary. Your enemies roared in your own meeting place. They set up their own signs there. It looked like axes raised against a thicket of trees. And then all its carvings they hacked down with hatchet and pick. They set fire to your sanctuary, burned it to the ground. They defiled the dwelling place of your name. They said in their hearts, "We'll kill all of them together." They burned all of God's meeting places in the land. We don't see our own signs anymore. No prophet is left, and none of us know how long it will last. How long, God, will foes insult you? Are enemies going to abuse your name forever? Why do you pull your hand back? Why do you hold your strong hand close to your chest? Yet God has been my king from ancient days, God who makes salvation happen in the heart of the earth. You split the sea with your power. You shattered the heads of the sea monsters on the water. You crushed Leviathan's heads. You gave it to the desert dwellers for food. You split open springs and streams. You made strong flowing rivers dry right up. The day belongs to you, the night too. You establish both the moon and the sun. You set all the boundaries on the earth in place, summer and winter. You made them. So remember this, Lord, how enemies have insulted you, how unbelieving fools have abused your name. Don't deliver the life of your dove to wild animals. Don't forget the lives of your afflicted people forever. Consider the covenant, because the land's dark places are full of violence. Don't let the oppressed live in shame. No, let the poor and needy praise your name. God, rise up, make your case. Remember how unbelieving fools insult you all day long. Don't forget the voices of your enemies, the racket of your adversaries that never quits. Well, that is the all end of Psalm 74. What did you think? Uh, what did you like? What didn't you like? What stuck out to you? To me, this is a very interesting psalm. One of the things that really stuck out to me is just how devastated the psalmist feels at this time. And that devastation again to me seems centered around the fact that their enemies are winning. And part of the way in which the enemies are winning is they are overrunning and destroying holy places, places that have been dedicated to God. It even says, at the beginning that they came into the meeting place. So just this sense that uh, there must be some kind of invasion going on, and the Israelites are losing, and that there's the destruction of, maybe it's even the temple. It talks about the meeting place, as I mentioned. So uh, it's just interesting how uh, the psalmist continues to plead to God to use God's power and might, and that the the focus of it should be because of all of the terrible things that the enemies are doing to God's holy places and to God's people. And I think one of the things that kind of you know in general that really kind of I pull out of this is just this idea from verse 20. Consider the covenant. I think it's just interesting that, you know, not that God forgets, but sometimes it is helpful for us to remind God, for us to say, hey, God, you said this thing. How is that working? And, maybe God has a plan. Maybe God, you know, obviously knew that these things were happening, and maybe there was something else going on that God was working on, in the background, or through all of this. And, maybe things weren't as bad as the psalmist thought. Believe it or not, sometimes people tend to exaggerate things. And maybe there was something God had in store. Maybe there was something God was working on in the background. But I kind of loved the ending. God, rise up, make your case. Don't forget the voices of your enemies. And just, not letting, just before that, don't let the oppressed live in shame. No, let the poor and the needy praise your name. Just again, that plea to, you know, not only this about your house, your temple, your meeting places for us to worship, but it's about those who are less fortunate in this world. And I really like that part as well. We've seen that recently in a psalm or two ago, and I see it again here, and it's good to see how even in the worst of times, the psalmist isn't necessarily focused on himself, but on God, God's places of worship, and the poor and the needy. So again, what did you hear? Write it down, share it with a friend, share it with us. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.